Okay. Everything should be good. Alrighty. Let's get this show on the road. I don't have anything as far as preambles or whatnot here. So let's jump right on into the charts. I do have some research I want to go over, but right now I'm just pulled up the charts. I'm like, I guess kind of want to look around at some assets, see what's kind of going on. And I can go over some Flash PMI stuff. Let's see here. Some stuff around the BOJ and the ECB. Also, you know, people are talking about replacing Lagarde and who to replace Lagarde with. And so we finally got a bit of analysis on specifically the speculation for replacing Lagarde. Let's see. And then we also have some speculation, and it should be happening. It should have probably happened today at the earliest. Some estimates of who will be new at the Bank of Japan. I think I actually saw something about that on X, if I recall correctly. But yeah, let's go ahead. I'm just going through the notes, double checking that there isn't anything too pressing to bring up right off the bat. Yeah. Okay. So let's get on to the charts here. So I think it's pretty straightforward. This is probably going to make a new higher high. We can look at the dots. So if we're making a new low, we'll probably end up somewhere down here. You can see we have a peak in our distribution of lows. And then we have a bunch of dots down here. So breaking this low, probably end up down there. Go ahead and set up an alert for that just in case. Go ahead. Wait. And then up here, it seems like most of the tops come in sometime in the next 16-ish hours, because this is an 8-hour chart. And probably here in spot. So it doesn't seem too unreasonable just to go long here on euro dollar. Let's see. Because now we're an hour after the daily open. No, we're an hour before the next daily candle. Yeah, 118. We're back to 118. Now more or less a matter of, do we go back to these highs further out, like this expectation set, or are we going lower? And so far with all this stuff going on with Lagarde, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a huge deal. Let's see. I can pull this out here. And yeah, I can. There we go. So where is the stuff on Lagarde? Yeah. So ECB succession, and right here we have euro dollar. So I'll actually switch these two around. So we have an ECB bit of analysis here, and we have euro dollar chart right here behind me. All right, 4 out of the 6 positions at the ECB's executive board are set to expire. Okay. And you can see this is where all the terms end, and these are the nationalities, and then here are the roles. So if Lagarde goes, France has to put someone else in for France. Yeah, and then you have this guy Louis going out, and Spain's gonna have to replace him too. So let's see here. Schneebel herself is one of the leading candidates to suggest Lagarde as president. Here's a snapshot of the most frequently cited names. So these are the people who could replace Lagarde. One thing I did read these things here, and it seems like this guy from Spain is probably going to be the next one. I also saw something about Macron asking Lagarde to step down because he doesn't want Bardella, who is the current French opposition, to select the what is it? It's not president of the ECB. He wants essentially it's the French representative who goes on the executive board. Essentially, the president of France helps elect the executive board. I'll just say flat out, I'm not 100% on top of exactly how people get elected into the executive board. However, since this has been going down, I have been learning about the process, but then I started learning about the council and the committee, and I'm like, okay, Euro area politics are a bit more involved than I originally understood. Anyways, yeah, there was one guy a long time ago who did a whole documentation on social media of getting elected into the European Parliament. That was quite interesting. Anyways, this guy here is the only guy who's neutral. All the rest of these people are on the more hawkish side, so it seems like just based on current policy, this is who will go next. This Pablo Hernandez de Cos. He is arguably the most straightforward appointment on the list. The sustained outperformance of the Spanish economy in recent years could also support his case at the margin, although there may be some desire to keep a European at the helm of the BIS. Previous governor, Bank of Spain, manager for the BIS. So let's see here. On the other hand, if the timing and motivation for Lagarde's departure is as reported, then we imagine that Macron will seek to push back against overtly hawkish candidates, given the backdrop of weak demand and sub-target inflation in France. Hernandez de Cos is the exception among current frontrunners as a more neutral candidate, and hence could benefit from this. The support for our view, as things stands, is he is most likely to succeed. And then there's a few other things here. There's some stuff on this whole thing on the Airbnb is them really focusing on home prices, and I thought there was one more thing here on the ECB. Lagarde also speaks Thursday morning in the EU Parliament, which is a more likely backdrop if an early departure from the ECB was confirmed. So she's in Washington right now. She'll be back, and potentially tomorrow we can hear. The Wall Street Journal quotes Lagarde as confirming she'll remain. So if the rumors that she'll step down are true, there's an opportunity that she might do so tomorrow in front of the EU Parliament. So let's see. Pretty sure that was the main thing on the CB. Yeah. Notes can be quite helpful. Oof. Excuse me. Yeah, this would be my current expectation. So probably something happens with Lagarde. Stepping down. And then it's 25, 15, 16. Gotta timestamp your stuff. So that would be my more nominal expectation. Euro, we can just kind of hit space and go down the ranked here. Aussie's doing really, really well. Probably got a bit more juice left in it. New Zealand's also doing really well. It hit the likely low here, which was really, really nice to see. And it's kind of open air past, I don't know, 60-10. This is a nice little bout of volatility here, but past 60-10, I'd be concerned about trading back to kind of these prices here. What do the probability pivots say? Wow. 43% of the time this week, that's the low. And yeah, probably back here. And then in a really extreme example, probably up here, but more conservatively here. So maybe into more definitively into the lower half of the 60 handle here, New Zealand. And then on the pound side, it looks like it's a lot easier to justify going higher here. Real quick, what are the dots? Show it. It's a lot of dots, man. What is the size of the box? Let's reduce the size of the box. That would be like way up here. Okay. Yep, just some really straightforward trade planning. No big fuss or frills. Just kind of going through the indicators, checking high odds and low odds. We're gonna need to see higher volatility come in to way down here. Would have been nice if the thing dipped. We got a low wick down here, but you can always get what you want. You look at the ranges, probably. And if we change our historical look back, yeah, most of the tops come in around here. So this would be the seasonal swing if we do get something more of a significant pop-off. Something that more significantly weakened the dollar. And now with the tariffs, the IEEPA tariffs having to be repaid, it's not looking so great. I thought that the Supreme Court wouldn't rule against them, but they did, and then also did it in a way that was kind of weird. So they gave the power, they clarified, so the president can completely shut down trade with the country, but they can't charge a license or any kind of fee for doing that trade. So it's either the nuclear option or let the trade flow. And that seems like an interesting middle ground to settle on a very barbell sort of strategy, a barbell sort of decision there. Well, with that in mind, the refunds could be an issue for the United States. However, there's no text on when the refunds need to come. So the refunds will be likely locked in litigation for a long time. There's companies out there that are buying this tariff debt, so companies that are owed money from tariffs that they've paid now. What these companies are doing is they're saying, hey, sell us that debt that the government owes you now, that the tariff money that the government's supposed to repay you. Let us take that, but we'll give you money right now for like 30 to 20 cents on the dollar. And then we'll spend the 4 or 5 years in litigation, and we'll just give you a hunk of cash for essentially ownership of that debt. And a lot of companies are taking that and just going with it. They're like, well, if I can't get 100% back, I am fine with getting 20% or a third back, instead of having to pay all the legal costs and then fight it out and Lord knows what. So with that, you know, that's just a business going on. A lot easier to chat when there's people in the chat. I'm not streaming at a normal time. Most people who I hang around are actually not up at this time. It's like smack dab right at lunch here. I actually just had lunch. I had a fat bell pepper with some spiced beef and jalapenos and onions, and man, so good. Yeah, it was very, very tasty. Very, very spicy. Okay. Alright, so we did that stuff. Now this is Aussie. Yeah, it looks like it probably topped out already. That really looked like it. Bitcoin actually had something similar, if I recall. Yeah. There was this move on Bitcoin earlier this week. I was talking to someone in the trading group, and it was like, you know, maybe I should be buying some Bitcoin. And I was like, hey, based on the indicators, this is a pretty decent spot, in my opinion. If I go here and I hide, see, we got a peak in our distribution right here. If I go ahead and unhide that, hey, look where the low came in. Very, very straightforward, very simple. So given the low is down there, probably gonna have to like So let's see here. When the low for the week is here, most of the highs come in over here, and when top for the week, or when the low for the week here, the bottom for the week is here. So the tops for the week end up here. And when the high for the week comes in around here, the bottom for the week shows up around here. But considering that this low is low, these lows, and we can just only do future highs and future lows, and it gets rid of all those things. So if you wanted to turn it into a probability, you could just count these dots, and this versus this dot. So this is 1 to 4. So it's like, oh, 75% of the time when the low is here compared to the high here, we go higher. Sure, you can say that, but it's also based on the assumption that this is the low for the week and this is the high for the week. So you just have to be comfortable making that assumption in order to do that analysis. But yeah, I'd be definitely more cautious past. I have 52. Past 52, this thing's probably gonna jump a few thousand, probably. Probably trade up to here because that's what these stats are showing. So if it passes 72, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to 75. And I would just be really wondering what would bring us. I kind of am in agreement with expecting a bit more choppy movement. You know, every other day I go onto social media or onto YouTube or onto whatever, and I hear some guys going, "Oh, did you know, like, hey man, when first the stock market, first all the altcoins sell off, then Bitcoin sells off, and then the stock market sells off, and like they say, oh, these things happen in a specific order." And then gold sells off, right? Like the most risky assets sell off, and then the least risky assets sell off. And I'm like, painful. It's painful to hear that, because that's just not true. I mean, look, Bitcoin goes in and out of correlation with equity markets. Literally, you can test this correlation. You know, this is a Pearson correlation, right? Let's see here. We want correlation coefficient. Yeah, sure. Let's do NASDAQ. A lot of people compare this to NASDAQ. Let's go ahead and move this up. Visual order. 16 paint above, sure. Move all the scales onto the right. Cool. Now that that's taken care of, let's go to daily. So the correlation goes up and down and up and down and up and down a lot. Let's say, let's see, what's one more thing we can do? We could probably add a moving average on top of this, but not necessarily. Let's do a quarterly moving average. Let's say it's 90 days, 90-day relationship. I mean, it goes in and out all the time. Yeah, there's periods where things are highly correlated. And then when things are precisely not correlated. Look, all I'm trying to point out is that there are idiosyncratic risks when it comes to crypto, or frankly, when it comes to most assets, and that correlations change over time. It's, you know, just because one asset goes up doesn't necessarily mean another asset has to go up. That makes actually a lot of sense when, for example, you have two companies, like two blue chip companies that are in the same industry, like Exxon and BP, maybe. Right? Exxon and Shell. Those two have been really big. But guess what? There was actually, if we look at Shell, New York Stock Exchange. So this is what Shell has been doing, right? Since the beginning of the year, it's been going up. It's up 16%. And then you have Exxon. Also since the beginning of the year. But this thing's up about 10% more. Why? Well, even though these are in the same industry, in the same sector, they have different exposures to things going on in the world. Exxon has direct risk and exposure to oil activities in Venezuela. They had much more exposure. Now, Shell is also kind of going up with it, but the winner of the two is Exxon. There are other oil companies and shale companies and sands companies that you can look at that might be doing better than this. But to make the point about Bitcoin, for people to say, oh, this relationship between Bitcoin and these other assets is kind of a leading indicator. I'm like, no, it's not. You can say maybe that there's a relation in sentiment, and obviously a relationship in, you know, when the tickers move up and down, it people's emotions are a lagging indicator to price, is a very succinct way of putting it. The headlines always follow the price, not necessarily. And then there's like this small, like less than 1% of headlines that actually move prices. Most headlines and most things are in reaction to a price move. When you start to have an outlook and start setting expectations of what will happen next, that's really the dividing quality between what I think makes people professional traders or not. I mean, even if you're doing something quantitative and systematic, you're setting an expectation for, okay, I have this long study of trades and I want this little bit of alpha or this little effect that I want to capture, this little ARB, and then I have 5 or 6 little ARBs and I make a portfolio of them. You are at least expecting the variation of the return on that, on each little factor in those ARBs to accumulate in that little trading portfolio that you have. And that requires each little ARB to work. And when it stops working, you need to figure out why it stops working. It's as simple as you gotta learn about the world. The more you learn about the world, the easier trading gets, and generally the better you perform. And if you know a lot about things, it's generally the first step to start developing an insight into, okay, well, if this and that thing are true, then what could potentially happen next? Which is why kind of studying history is very, very important, to learn that lesson of extrapolation. But even if you know like all this financial history about, oh, the Great Depression and 2008 crisis and the dot-com bubble and yes, those things are nice to know, and people who are really smart and make money trading know those things. Just knowing those things from an entertainment point of view doesn't necessarily transfer into you making money and probably make trading psychology better. Oh, let me watch a movie to improve my trading psychology instead of learning about what makes a particular little ARB work or not, or why Bitcoin even has value in the first place. You know, I gave this little thesis a week or two ago about, hey, there's an issue with all these AI companies taking away, you know, if you look at Microsoft, FT, if you look at something like Microsoft over, wow, it's pretty horrible, man. I mean, it's some pretty bad. You look at Microsoft, now let's look at Google, right? Again, another scenario here of two companies that have AI exposure and are performing like completely differently. depending on your AI play. Actually, there should be an AI ETF. BlackRock must have one. BlackRock AI ETF. BAI. Yeah. So here's the BlackRock AI ETF. So far, so good. Look, it even gapped up today. It's been quite choppy for the last 5 months. But man, it really fell off a cliff in the beginning. Part of 2025 there. We know why this fell off a cliff in the beginning of 2025 because of the tariffs. Like, that's exactly when Trump got in office and all the tariff stuff started happening. Yeah, and then there's a bit of relief, and then no, and then I believe if my timeline matches, we then started getting all the announcements of Sam Altman, OpenAI, and Oracle, and SoftBank going to the White House and doing that big AI investment announcement. I wouldn't be surprised if that was probably the low. Let's see here. When was White House AI meeting held? 2025. July 23. So that's over here. And the meeting with so the meeting I'm thinking about was in January, like way back here. Oh man, so they must have been upset. So this is all tariff stuff. Yeah. This would be an interesting thing to study, why the thing it just had this massive V bottom. I would be very interested in learning why that's happened. Ah, man, oh man. But yeah, if you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know, and you just follow really, really, really simple videos, it's not going to help. Let's see. What else? I mean, I'm not terribly motivated to look at a huge number of assets here. Let's see. Okay. Oof. Wouldn't be surprised if that was the low or if it went down just a hair lower. Oh man, look at that. Look at where the top came in. Right there at the red spot. Right there at the peak. Oh, cool little indicators, man. Yeah, it looks like most of the lows come in right around this time. And then there's a decent number of lows, but this is like, you're reversing all of last week's gains. So if this is the low for the week and we do make a new high, we would just be going up into the right into end of week. I actually think it's probably more reasonable to see more sideways thing here. So we'll probably just bounce sideways, some more choppiness. Things might be a bit on hold for as long as there's no as long as the Strait of Hormuz stays open, and whatever intervention militarily the United States takes into Iran. So along oil refineries, along that coastline there, along that northeastern coast, aren't hit or sabotaged when the US goes in, then things will be pretty okay as far as oil prices go. Now, if things start getting blown up in regard to oil infrastructure, then we're gonna have with oil supply. I think it was like 20% of the world's oil supply goes through Strait of Hormuz, if I remember my numbers correct. How's gold doing? So many people have been talking about gold. You know, I don't even think about the gold. I know, it's just don't think about it. Like, don't think about it like Bitcoin. Just buy the gold and don't think about it pretty much to the day you die until you really need it. So yeah, if that's the low and we're gonna make a new high, then the high isn't it's exactly the same analysis as oil. Exactly the same setup as oil. What else? What else is there to check out? Oh, we could look at CAD. Oh, that's probably the top. I'd be surprised. All right. Really want to make that setting automated, man. Because I don't like how every single time I change charts, I have to adjust this percent bounce. I want a little tick box here that says auto, and it just, bam, it just automatically adjusts this. But adjust it to what size, adjust it based on what, that's a whole nother thing to figure out. So if this is the top, most of the lows are all the way down here at the end of week. So, and quite far, actually. Wow. Let's undo that. Real quick, let's actually check out yield spreads. How are yield spreads holding up? Are they red yet? No, the long end of the curve is red. The spreads are moving in favor of CAD on this side. From what I understand, the Canadian economy is not moving as quickly as the United States economy. Also, we've been following the separatist movements in Alberta and Quebec. We set up some research threads for that. And, you know, so there's a lot of people who are in trading and say things along the lines of, oh, why get into politics? Why do all this research on politics? Like they say, oh, I get, you know, doing geopolitical research for trade risk, but why get so into it? Why look at all these things that really more likely than not don't matter? And like, that's kind of the point. Have you ever seen price gap or jump? And they're like, yeah. Well, what can cause that? And they're like, well, a surprise causes a jump, usually, right? Like, yeah. So if you knew something was potentially a risk and could surprise, because if so-and-so, let's just say in this theoretical, they know the risks of the separatist parties in Alberta and Quebec exist, but then they don't do any research whatsoever into the developments of those separatist movements. They just wait until Bloomberg says something, or until some candidate in the separatist movements gets into power. And then once that occurs, then the price moves. And then they're like, oh, wow, yeah, that's kind of a big deal. But the point in trading is to have an expectation and be positioned based on those expectations being realized in the future, right? And you can come up with your expectations in many, many different ways. But if you want to, if you're doing things discretionarily and you're doing FX, sure, there's a lot of people just totally ignore geopolitics, and they do just fine. Frankly, yes. But some of these guys, frankly, could be making even more money if they knew the context of what was going on around the politics of the countries that they're getting exposure to. And they don't necessarily need to take personal sides in the politics. They need to understand the fiscal policy that if so-and-so party comes to power, what will they change economically and debt-wise about the government? What are they going to fund? What are they going to defund? Those questions are important to know. Are they going to do any special bond issuance? Are they going to put a lot more pressure on monetary policy, right? Everyone and their mother knows about U.S. monetary policy and U.S. politics. But as soon as those same people try and like, oh man, you know, I'm going to get into trading. And then they realize, well, you probably want to learn about the politics of these other countries so you understand the risks of getting exposure to XYZ asset. And it's not like, oh, you have to subscribe to 20 different newsletters and, you know, get all this crazy research. It's like, no, it's like every once in a while you check X and you go and look up a couple of YouTube videos about it, and you listen to a podcast or two from some people who are dedicated geopolitical researchers on it. Like, to get competent at what's going on geopolitically in a country doesn't take a whole lot of effort. Wikipedia does a lot of heavy lifting on that front, frankly, in just giving you the basic definitions of who is doing what and why generally their history has led to this current point in their current actions. Now, even Wikipedia can be biased, so you do have to go out of your way and find sometimes firsthand accounts from these institutions, but Wikipedia and a couple of podcasts really get you up to speed 99% of the time as far as research goes. Yeah. Oh, I just realized I'm kind of looking the wrong way. Let's see here. Transform. Flip horizontally. Yeah. So am I now looking at? Yeah. This is the second monitor. This is the primary monitor, and there you guys are on the camera. Yeah. So I want to be more looking towards this direction here. I don't want to be looking. I agree with the Markiplier rant that people should have their face cams flipped or just make sure that they're looking the right way. But yeah, it kind of seems like I'm just tucked in the corner here now, but that might be a good thing. That might be a good thing. So you can see more of the chart too. All right. Well, I mean, I can go on and rant and rant and rant. But on Friday Fridays are now normal stream days, so there's gonna be people around every Friday, and then as I do videos consistently on the Fridays, and I do the highlight video and the shorts. I didn't do that in the last week because I wasn't terribly satisfied with that content, but I realized, I should probably still do it. I got a lot of good programming done, though. I wasn't, I was procrastinating on that responsibility by taking care of another responsibility. And I am really looking forward to getting the library I've been working on released, because I would like to get some indicators, release some indicator updates, maybe do a few PineScript programming streams. That'd be nice. Show you guys my my little NeoVim setup. I got some PineScript syntax working in NeoVim because, like, I kind of want to learn NeoVim and not be, stuck in the PineScript editor. I don't mind the PineScript editor, but I would just like having an external tool that I can kind of commit to using the keybinds on. So yeah, I am really going off topic here, so I'll see you guys definitely on Friday. Consider this like a bonus stream. Thank you for watching. If you are watching this, you know where to reach me on Discord. And if you need help with anything, or you want some ideas on some trades or some feedback on anything, you can just reach out, post it in the trade ideas threads, post it in the trading chat, send me DMs. I mean, if the channel starts to get a lot of viewers, now's the time to chat. But in all seriousness, I kind of just enjoy having these nice little streams, maybe a handful of people. I know you want to like grow the trading group and all this stuff to be big and make a ton of money, but it's like, well, how big of a priority is the money versus, very doing good work and being honest, good things for people and doing the right things for people. It's yeah, sometimes I like look at the other people running trading groups or selling indicators. I'm just like, I get selling, I get sales, but when you know a handful of things about, like, okay, you have to be precise in your language, so then you don't mislead people, especially when it comes to trading, especially if you're licensed or anything. Still see people saying, oh, we got XYZ return. Look at these great returns we got using our indicators. And I'm like, pretty sure there's regulations around that. I'm pretty sure there's regulations around that. Yeah. So I'll enjoy just hanging out with people. I'll just enjoy building my stuff, trading my stuff, and then people who want access to my stuff can access my stuff. And then hopefully those conversations turn into some really good relationships and maybe some new indicator ideas, something that I can build that is like really, really cool. Or, it's this is another little tangent. another reason to get the stream just a little bit longer. But definitely hope you guys enjoyed this kind of bonus stream. I didn't go into all the research I wanted to go into, but I posted it in the Outlooks channel. You can read the links to the research from links directly from those institutions yourself. You're not like downloading a PDF off of Discord or anything, straight to the institution's website to read it. Anyways, I'll see you guys in a bit. Thank you very much for